So much hate, but I love that. Act funny, I'ma give it right back. Bro, I mean right back, right back. I'm like a short knee, you gon' need an ice pack. Yikes, black leather with the chrome spikes. With the baddie on the back of a motorbike. Kinda fatty in them jeans, you know we like. If she on your love, brought you home last night. A little something turns into a big fight. Then we end up making love all through the night. Nice, I'm the tiger with a new stripe. I could do anything, just call me Mike. The greatest, pick one cause they all like. I have to be number one, that's the appetite. In control of my own life. I choose love over hate, that's what I feel like. Yeah, show me what I love at. Yeah, show me what I love at. Yeah, show me what I love at. Bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. Whoa. Yeah, show me what I love at. Yeah, show me what I love at. Yeah, show me what I love at. Bring it back, bring it back, bring it back.
Powered by Riverside FM.
Welcome to Unconventional Playbook Spotlight Edition. I'm excited to do some spotlights because it's about showing the love to particular players, just focusing on one player, one person, one coach, not a bunch of topics, just helping the audience, the you peers, get to know certain personnel a little bit better. So it's a little branch of the traditional unconventional playbook, whether it's by myself or with Patrick Buchanan. This is just a segment where we show the love to somebody, some coach. So I'm really excited to do that because sometimes I just think that needs to be done. There's a lot of variety of topics that you can talk about when it comes to the Minnesota Vikings or whether it's the Minnesota Timberwolves, but we're primarily a Minnesota Vikings channel. Doesn't mean that we won't dabble into other things, but primarily we're with the Vikes. Today's spotlight is on my guy, Brian Flores, better known as B-Flow. You guys remember Ed Donatel? Ed Donatel, defensive coordinator for the Vikings, 2022. Here's the write-up. On Ed Donatel. Ed Donatel was the defense coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings in 2022. Donatel's record as the team's defensive coordinator was 13-4, making him the most successful defensive coordinator in Minnesota Vikings history. The team made it to the playoffs one time in 2022 and had an 0-1 record under Donatel and his defensive scheme. Man, if you didn't know Ed Donatel, you would probably ask, if you look through the history annals, of why did he get removed as the Vikings defensive coordinator? Well, what that write-up doesn't tell you is that his defense was 31st in the league and pretty much last in all defensive categories. Man, do you remember that defense? That defense was absolutely terrible. Zone scheme. He was touted as someone that can come in and implement something that would help the Minnesota Vikings out that year. And it was just a detriment. I mean, mediocre quarterbacks were throwing for 400 yards against us. And there just had to be a change. And KOC and Kwesi knew that there had to be a change. There was no way you would be able to come back with that sort of scheme. I mean, the defense was absolutely terrible. Then the following year, KOC brings in B-Flow. And in my opinion, we have another head coach on our football team. Actually, three head coaches on our football team. If you regard Mike Pettin as a head coach, he spent some time with the Browns as a head coach. Kevin O'Connell was on his staff as a quarterback coach in Cleveland. That's where that relationship came about. So the Vikings have a good staff. But again, we want to focus on my guy, B-Flow. This is the spotlight. This is the UP spotlight. So we're going to focus on B-Flow. B-Flow comes in as someone who, in all regards, is considered a defensive genius. He improved the defense from 31 overall in 2022 to 16th overall in 2023. This included posting top 8 rankings in both rushing yards per play and rushing yards per game. The Vikings led the NFL in forced fumbles with 21, 3 more than any other team in the league, and marked the most forced fumbles in a single season in franchise history since 2007, when the team also forced 21 turnovers. B-Flow, man, in my opinion, is essentially genius. And he did that with pretty much the same personnel that Ed Donatel had. Just an incredible, incredible job. See, the thing about B-Flow is if you've ever watched his defenses, he's going to load up front. And he has a different blitz scheme for every position. So if you're a quarterback looking at that, you're seeing multiple guys on the line that can blitz from anywhere. And along with those blitzing angles, what he does essentially well is he constantly moves personnel around. He's got defensive linemen standing up. He's got defensive linemen with their hand in the ground. Guys that were playing left end are now playing nose tackle. Guys that were outside linebackers now can stun inside. Guys that are middle linebackers can step back into coverage. Man, for a quarterback to have to come up and deal with that for 60 minutes in a game, I mean, that just has to be mind-blowing. You have to be prepared. And it's so unpredictable. It's based on a lot of reads. So when you hear B-Flow say that this defense is not his defense, it's the player's defense, it's because they're reading certain things at the line of scrimmage. And the genius about it is everybody and everything has to be on the same page because it's about reads. And everybody has to see the same thing. He knew that when he stepped in as the defensive coordinator last season, he knew that he didn't have the personnel, especially in the secondary. That's why his blitz rate was so high. 53% blitz rate, more than any team in the league. And he basically came in with the mentality of, well, if we're going to get beat, we're going to get beat full steam ahead. So we're going to blitz and blitz and blitz and blitz. So now those quarterbacks that are out there can't get comfortable with what they see. And now it becomes a guessing game. Sometimes they were right, but most times they were wrong. See, there's no way to scout that. There's no way to scout it because it's all based off reads. It's like in basketball running a motion offense. Like you have an idea what a team is doing motion-wise, but you can't scout it because it's off reads and reacting. He didn't even have his guys in there last year, his versatile guys that he has on personnel this year. See, this is why I'm so excited about B-Flow. The bad thing about B-Flow is that I think he is going to become a hot commodity pretty fast. Like, I'm shocked that he didn't get an interview at all this year for a head coaching job. But you had the lawsuit pending with the NFL, and I know that that has something to do with it. It sounds like those situations are getting resolved if they haven't been resolved already. So now I know his body of work is going to be better than his body of work last year. My expectations of the Minnesota Vikings defense is to go from 16th to about top 10. And keep in mind, guys, he's going to do it with a depleted secondary. So I can't imagine what the mad scientist B-Flow is going to come up with in terms of scheme for this year. Oh, I can't wait to see it because the personnel is going to be just a tad bit different than it was last year. They will be in better. How much better? That remains to be seen. My expectations is a top 10 defense, but we shall see. I could be wrong about that. I just know you can book this. It's going to be a better defense than it was last season. How long will we have B-Flow? See, I'm selfish. Because I know that if we somehow, some way can keep B-Flow long term, I know eventually that ends in a really good playoff run, if not a Super Bowl appearance, once we get our quarterback situation situated. But how long can we keep him? See, that's the devastating thing about a guy like J.J. McCarthy not being ready to play, because you're missing these windows. You're missing these windows. There are no guarantees for next year. When J.J. McCarthy comes back healthy, maybe somewhere else in terms of our personnel, they may be injured for the year. B-Flow may go and get another job. See, nobody thinks about that. It's about when and where is J.J. McCarthy going to come back. I know that his injury is not going to hamper his career. But where will the window be? And I'm not trying to imply that we're going to the Super Bowl this year. But man, B-Flow on the other side of the ball surely enhances our chances, especially when we have J.J. McCarthy on the offensive side of the ball. If he is what we think he's going to be. If I am the Wilfs, and I know there's a lot of variables that come into this, I'm not an idiot. But I give B-Flow what he wants to try to keep him around, or I make it hard for him to go elsewhere and get a head coaching job. And it could be a situation where it doesn't matter what the money is. He just wants another opportunity to be a head coach. And I know there's a very good chance that may be true. Oh, but if I'm the Wilfs, I'm making it hard for this man to leave, because I know what he brings to the table. He is a defensive mad scientist. He's Frankenstein of the NFL in terms of defense. He's a genius on the defensive side of the ball. Look at what he did with the personnel that he had last year. It wasn't great. It wasn't great. Ed Donatel showed you that in pretty much any other scheme, they're not going to perform. If you don't get a pass rush, you're leaving that secondary and those guys out on an island. Good luck. And Ed Donatel showed you that what he did didn't work. And as soon as B-Flow came in and put his fingerprints on everything, things changed with primarily the same personnel. See, I'm selfish. I want B-Flow to stay. And I don't know how realistic that is, because I do think that when his situation with the NFL gets resolved, you're going to have teams that are needy of a really good head coach beating down his door. So I'm going to make life pretty good for him while he's here. And if there's some competition out there for him to leave, oh man, I'm giving him close to a blank check. What can we do to keep you? Because if the Vikings can keep Brian Flores around, I mean, look at his track record. Wherever he has gone, he's won. Look at the players off of our team last year that at some point got Defensive Player of the Week. Danielle Hunter was a all-star last year, all NFL player, whatever you want to call it. He wasn't that in Ed Donatel. I remember under Ed Donatel's scheme, people were like, where's Danielle Hunter? Like, does he fit a 3-4 scheme? Where is he? He's not as effective as he was in the 4-3 scheme. Enter Brian Flores. had one of his best years last year. And to reinforce how good his year was, he got the bag from the Texans. I guarantee you, if Ed Donatell was still around running that defense, Danielle Hunter would not have gotten the bag. They would have been dropping him back in zone coverage for 80% of the time, where he's not as effective as he is rushing the quarterback. And that's what Ed Donatell couldn't figure out. It's unbelievable, man. Think about all the defensive players of the week. During Brian Flores' reign, you had Jordan Hicks, Defensive Player of the Week. Cameron Bynum, Defensive Player of the Week. Ivan Pace Jr., Defensive Player of the Week. You're talking about Ivan Pace Jr., who was a UDF, an undrafted free agent, Defensive Player of the Week, with the green dot. So, man, I'm telling you, I had to spotlight Brian Flores, and we're going to do some of these every now and then where we just need to spotlight people that are essential to our squad, man. And look, listen, I wouldn't begrudge Brian Flores from going out and getting a head coaching job. That's not what this is all about, but we're just showing Brian Flores the love. Like he is essential to this. If our dream is to get to a Super Bowl, he is essential to the equation. And I am going to make it very difficult for him to walk out a door and entertain other opportunities. And I don't know what that looks like in terms of a payday. I know it's going to be pretty hefty, and there's only so much you can pay a defensive coordinator. But again, I'm just going to make it hard because he's essential to what we have to do, where we want to go. We need beat flow. And because all of this stuff is coming together, man. And listen, I don't trust the whole Brian Flores mentoring someone to take over, his defense when he leaves, man. I'm telling you, it's all about the brain. It's all about being cerebral, making the right decisions at the right time. It's been my biggest criticism of Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins was not a bad quarterback. No matter what people say in terms of his tools, Kirk Cousins could make all the throws. It's why Kirk Cousins got paid. It's why if you look at him statistically, he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. So I will never entertain that Kirk Cousins sucked. But his brain was a little bit different. He overanalyzed everything, and he was a very conservative football player. And sometimes you may have to take a little bit of a step back in terms of attributes sometimes, in terms of arm talent and stuff like that, and have a dog of a brain in that backfield. So again, I'm not ready to say right now that someone like J.J. McCarthy is a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins or an upgrade from Kirk Cousins. I just know watching him in practice and hearing what I'm hearing and then watching him in the first preseason game, his decision-making was a little different. Watch the All-22. There were check downs that were there, and J.J. McCarthy was like, I'm going downfield. It's there, man. That's what I'm talking about. Different brain. Just imagine in that playoff game versus the Giants, when we threw short of the first down line to T.J. Hawkinson, I believe it was, that was the decision that Kirk Cousins made at that time, at that moment, during that situation, when you knew that your only chance for survival was to get a first down, and at that moment you chose the conservative route when you have the best wide receiver in the league out there running the route. Just imagine if that was J.J. McCarthy in that situation. Does he hit the check down from T.J. Hawkinson? Man, and I know, before you jump all over me, I know that we have a small sample size of J.J. McCarthy. But I just think in my heart of hearts, just giving things the eye test and seeing the small sample size that I see from JJ, that decision would have been a little bit different. And see, all you need is a different brain. That's why B-Flow is so important. Brain's a little bit different. I'm not saying there's not other adequate defensive coordinators out there, but B-Flow's a little different, man. You are going to have to be mentally strong to play against the Minnesota Vikings for a duration of the game, because you're going to have guys coming from everywhere, all angles, cornerbacks blitzing, safeties blitzing, outside linebackers blitzing, stunts inside with the D-tacks, left end blitzing, right end blitzing, guys that you don't think will drop back in coverage or dropping back in coverage. Dude, it is a mind F as a quarterback. That's what it brings to the table. So much so, you heard it from JJ, man. I just want to see a vanilla defense. I can't wait. Because every day he's got to go against that. So again, my wish is that Brian Flores gets a chance to be the defensive coordinator when JJ McCarthy is at the helm. They're going to add more pieces. They're going to be 7th or 8th in the league in terms of salary cap. So they're going to be able to add more pieces. Depending on how the season goes, they got another draft coming up where they can get a D-tack, where they can get a cornerback in the draft. And again, bring people in free agency. Some people that can really enhance B-Flow's defense. And now you've got a different kind of brain, a young brain, but a different kind of brain throwing the ball for the Minnesota Vikings. Man, I just think it's a match made in heaven. But I'm hoping that we get an opportunity to see it come to fruition. Because I believe that Brian Flores' defense is really going to show something this year. And I think he's going to be a hot commodity for a lot of teams next year. He's got to be. No one wanted to touch him this year because he had that situation with the NFL. So I get it. I get it. He didn't even get an interview. So that lets you know what that was all about. Because at least any sensible person could see that he should have at least gotten an interview. And if he didn't get the job, he didn't get the job. But the fact that not one team called him for an interview, their loss is our game. I hope it's the same thing next year, but I don't think it's going to be. I hope that he can stick around just for a couple of more years while we make this run. It's essential. He's essential to the equation of the Vikings getting to where we want them to get. Stick around, B-Flow. This has been Unconventional Playbook, the Spotlight. Again, I want to do these every now and then just to focus on necessity and players that need to be highlighted, coaches that need to be highlighted. I couldn't have picked a better spotlight for my first one than B-Flow, Brian Flores, and the job that he's done with the Minnesota Vikings, and the job that I hope he continues to do. At least I'm praying for another couple of years. Come on, B-Flow. Come on. This has been Unconventional Playbook Spotlight. Hit that like and subscribe button. We're branching off doing a lot of different things. Sometimes you may see me by myself talking about a variety of topics. Sometimes you may see me spotlighting somebody. Sometimes you may see me with Patrick Buchanan. We're diversifying this thing. We're diversifying our portfolio here on the UP. So hit that like and subscribe button. Been getting great feedback. Let's keep this thing growing. We will definitely see you when we see you. Peace.